Making fresh pasta is a lot easier than you think, and all you need are your two little hands. You're gonna start by weighing out 500 grams of all-purpose flour. Pour this on the table. You're gonna create a well in the middle. Crack 100 grams of whole egg, which is 2 eggs. Now you're gonna add 160 grams of just egg yolk. The easiest way to separate the yolk from the white part is just bouncing it around between the shell. If you want an easier method, you can just crack the egg in your hand and just let the white go through your fingers until you're left with the yolk. Oh my God. 160 grams of egg yolk was about 10 eggs, but depending on the size of the egg, it's gonna change. Put the egg whites in the fridge and use them for whatever you want. 100 grams of whole eggs, 160 grams of egg yolk. Pour this into the middle of the well. 12 grams of salt. Now you're gonna grab a fork and you're gonna break all the yolks. As you mix this around, you're slowly gonna incorporate the flour. Once it gets to about this consistency, you're gonna start just folding everything in with your hands. I haven't figured out this setup, so I have to like awkwardly bend. I'm literally doing the splits right now. Whenever you're at this stage, it just looks like it's not gonna work, but it always ends up working. Your pasta consistency at this point is gonna be different every time. This changes between the humidity, the weather outside, the temperature of the eggs. There's a lot of different variables. So if you find that your pasta seems a little too dry, you can add about half a shot glass worth of water. When your dough gets to about this consistency, you can now clean off your table. This is the most important part when it comes to making a good pasta dough. You want to knead your dough. The reason we knead our dough is because we want the gluten inside the pasta to stretch out. What you're gonna do, push down and roll and then bring it back and do it again. And then you can turn it to this side, do the same thing. So you're letting your palms really do the work. When you're done kneading it, you should press down on it and it should slowly bounce back up. If it doesn't bounce back up, it means it's not ready. Cover your dough with either plastic wrap or a cloth for half an hour. All chefs use their teeth sometimes. It's been 30 minutes. Cut your dough into 4 equal parts. When you let your dough rest, it allows the gluten to just relax so it's easier to finish rolling. Grab a rolling pin and you're just gonna roll it out. When you get to this consistency, you're gonna fold and roll the other way. Fold one more time. If your pasta's slightly wet, you can add flour and it's a little easier to roll. This is the most taxing part. You're just gonna have to roll this until it becomes the right consistency. If you have one of those pasta makers, you can just start feeding this through it, starting at the highest setting all the way until the thinnest setting. My voice cracked. I'm gonna go to my neighbor's house and see if he has a pasta machine. My neighbor did have one. I don't have an extension cord, so I can't really show you. But you know who does have an extension cord? Probably my neighbor. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, baby. If you have one of these, you probably want to fold it so it's the right size. You're always going to start on the thickest setting so you don't break your neighbor's machine. I'm not going to show you all of this part because you don't need to see me repeat the same thing 4 times. But whenever you're making pasta, you basically want it to be just about see-through. This part now just depends on what type of pasta you want to use. If you're using it for lasagna sheets, you can just cut these into little squares. But there's a bunch of different pastas you can make with this. Cut your pasta into an even sheet like this. If it's wet, you're gonna add flour. You're gently gonna roll your pasta. If you want linguine, you're gonna cut it super thin. And you're gonna be left with this. If you want fettuccine, you're gonna cut it a little bit thicker. And my favorite, if you want pappardelle, you're gonna cut it thicker. And it should all just unravel. And that's how you make fresh pasta. When you're cooking this, you wait for your water to come to a rolling boil. That means there's bubbles and it's rolling and it's ripping boiling hot. You're only gonna have to drop this pasta in for anywhere between 30 seconds to 1 minute, unlike the store-bought stuff you buy where you have to throw it in for 12 minutes. If you want a pasta sauce to make this with, the bolognese video is gonna be right up here.